Hi, welcome to the presentation today. My name is Jacob Cox and I will be speaking about awakening and activating our light body. We're going to find that out first through nature's mind, how God works through the numbers. And first off, we start out with the Fibonacci sequence. Found out by a guy named Leonardo Fibonacci in the 1200s. Found out a code, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3. And what we're doing is we're taking the remaining number, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13. So you realize that this number is in everything. It's in how everything works. And it's a musical scale. So when you take these numbers and when you divide 8 by 5, you get a number that's close to this. Once you get up to about here, you get a perfect 0.618. What is 0.618? 0.618 is the golden ratio. It's the gold mean. It is a divine proportion for divinity. Each one of us was created to this scale. You know, so you hear that verse, in God's own image and God's own likeness. You are God-like. You are created along with nature because you're not separate from nature. You are a part of nature itself. So this is a musical scale to create all things, and it's 0.618. And so when you take this and you put it on the graph, here you go. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. And what you get is, once you put all these numbers onto a graph, you get a spiral. You get the spiral. And through all nature, you will see the spiral. How trees branch off, the 1 to 1 and 2. When you get up here, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how all life works. Branching of trees, plants. You see the spiral in shells, galaxies, sacred geometry, and we'll get to that later. At a galaxy. So the all is in the small. So from a tiny shell to a galaxy to your DNA, it's all the same, to a hurricane. These are all ways that energy manifests through nature. Again, you see it in plant life. You see the spiral in the flower, in the rose, seashells. Again, it's all there, always, all the time. In plant life, it's always there. In a pine cone, and we'll get back to a pine cone in a minute, why the pine cone is even more important. But again, you see the 1, the 2, the 3, the 5, and it's always there, the spiral. This is broccoli. DNA. So your DNA is a double helix spiral wave pattern. It is all energy moves in waves is basically what we're getting to. All energy moves in waves. You are energy. You're not just a solid piece of material. You're actually vibrating energy, and you're no different than anything else. So again, the Fibonacci sequence is in the DNA. The 0.618 is in the DNA. It's no coincidence. You can see that it's in your ear. It's in your face. And so how does it work? So it's like the eyes to the nose, the mouth to, I'm not exactly sure, the chin. But the way it works is each person is going to be a little bit off, but every person is built to the scale. Every person is built to the scale as far as your proportions of your face, your arms, your legs, your body. It's everywhere, 1.168. And you can see, so it's all in the small, so it's like you have a fractal, so the large part of your arm to the forearm to the hand, and that thing repeats itself again in your fingers. That's why you're just made up of your toes, your fingers. The scale is in all parts of your body, in all parts of nature. Again, you see it in the finger, in the hand. This is actually an instrument to measure as it gets wider. Each point is part of the whole 1 to 1.618. And if you even look at your hand, and you can see that there's no doubt about it. Your hand is the Fibonacci sequence, the Fibonacci spiral. It's very easy once you know what you're looking for. So you see the tool again, the colors of the bird, the parts of the ant, the flower, your hand, your fingers. It's undeniable that there is a pattern in nature that explains to all of us that we were created and not just randomly come to happen, that there's not just some Big Bang theory that things are just assorting. No, there's an actual divinity to this, there's an actual creation to this. I mean, to say that the DNA sequence or these things are happen by chance is to say the universe, it just blew up and is randomly assessing everywhere and things. That's not how it happens. It's being created. So you see it in the peacock feather again, another picture. And all of these forces in the butterfly itself have to do with the divine force in 1.618, the golden ratio, the golden mean. One other thing that you see it in is not only the big, but in the super small, viruses, AIDS, HIV, diseases, all of these viruses take the form of these sacred geometry shapes. So even the dark side knows how to use it. The architecture that you see in the past, the pyramids, this is actually in Greek, but Parthenon, yeah. So they built these things to show this divine proportion. So these people knew in the past. This is something that has been Fibonacci, Leonardo da Fibonacci didn't just discover it, he rediscovered something. And we are today rediscovering these things today. Why these things were built like this, why these things work like this, what they were saying. Again, you see it in the pyramid, the pentagon shape, the pine cone, the seashells. And so you see this and you see the stars and pentagons and you realize this is how energy takes shape. So when you take a building, like say Washington, D.C., and you put it in this pattern, I'm not going to sit here and tell you about a conspiracy, but when you put buildings in this kind of form, you're going to give the people who sit in them power. And there's no doubt people who sit in the pentagons in those buildings have a power. And it's not a power that they have over us, it's a power that we've given to them. We've given them our power and said that someone else is more powerful than you. But the real truth is that Obama has as much power to change the world as you do. That each person, you know, understanding these ideas and understanding what you really are, and once you transmit that energy out of you, you're going to change many people around you just as much as any politician or president can. And so that's why you see, why would somebody wear a star on their chest? Because it's going to give them power. Police have power. They use the symbols of nature to do it. Even if the police are not going to know this. Probably the chief is not going to know this. But somewhere down the line, somebody knows that putting this symbol on your chest is going to give you power. There's no doubt about it. That's how energy manifests. That's how it works. So I'm going to tell you how understanding all of these DNA, the sacred geometry, how it's going to empower you, how it's going to change your life. And it's through sacred geometry. So this is the flower of life. These are fractal patterns. You'll see these everywhere. And these are the things that we really should have learned about in school. And a lot of times, you know, you don't realize that algebra is something you're really not going to use ever again because it's not needed. This is the stuff that you need to know because you need to understand you're a part of this. These are you. And it's going to empower you to know that a pentagram is not something evil or something demonic, but it's something that will actually help you understand who you are, where we came from, and where all this stuff came from. The flower of life. And if you look at this, this is the Kabbalah. So this is the fractal pattern of the whole pattern. So it's like Kabbalah, Christianity, Hinduism, all of these are religions that are based on great teachings, but they're all a fractal of the whole. Not to say one is any better than the other. Each one is a great piece of the whole, and by knowing all of them, you're going to understand the whole better than you would if you just knew one or the other. But I think it's a great representation that this is representing that it is a fractal of the whole. And speaking of fractals, a guy named Benet Mandelbrot in 1982 discovered a mathematical pattern which once he came up with the number, he plugged it in a computer. This is what generated after he plugged it in the computer. And it looks similar to a Buddha, if you kind of look at it. And so they actually called it the Buddha Bro. Now what's super significant about this, if you look at it, and you look and you see here, each one of these patterns is the same pattern in the whole. And so you can actually zoom into this thing, And every time you zoom in, you get the same pattern over and over again. That's what a fractal is. And this can be zoomed in infinitely. It never ends. So this is how nature works. This is our lightning. This is our rivers. This is our streams. This is our blood vessels. Your electrical system, your nervous system in your body is like branches, like trees. So this is how nature works. And again, you are not distant from nature. You are actually a part of it. Separation is an illusion. So you can keep zooming in and see the same thing over and over again, and it's all spiraling in. Again, the Fibonacci sequence is spiral, and it zooms in over and over and over again, and you're going to get the same pattern every single time. That is super significant. And so this is one of the tarot cards, the Magician. He's pointing as above to below, which symbolizes the microcosm of the macrocosm. You are the microcosm of the macrocosm. You are your own single universe, and I'm going to prove it to you. All right, so this is a guy named Ernest Chladni in the 1780s. Found out that when he put salt or sugar or sand, which are crystals, onto a plate and took a bow and ran it down the side, he actually vibrated patterns. So he wrote down every single pattern that he got. And this is a list of the patterns that he made just by taking a bow and strumming it down the side of a metal plate. And again, here's a close-up of them. So this salt or sugar, it gathers up in unique patterns. The same thing always, all the time. So you can see this pattern in nature. These are certain frequencies being pumped in these, on the plates. And there's no doubt that there is a sound that goes to the universe. In the Bible, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Here's your word. The word is the sound. It's the hum. It's the tone. It's the thing that keeps the planets in line, that keeps everything in a certain place. And so you can see how these sounds could translate into nature. And so Cymatics, Hans Jenny, 1967 came up with the first volume of Cymatics, which is basically, Cymatics is a study of sound, bringing matter to life with sound. So you can see how a sound or a tone actually created all of us way back when. And this is how it works. So it's basically, this is a frequency, a tone being pumped in. And as the frequency gets higher, the sound will get higher. These shapes will be more and more and more complex as you go along. Again, this is another picture of it. And this one would be a higher frequency, and you can see how it's more complex than this one over here. This is a speaker with cornstarch and water in it, and as you pump sound in it, you can actually see waves being generated. And this is the water with the sound being pumped through it. This is the picture that I made, actually. So this is Cymatics on a plate. This is the Ohm sign. And this is the symbol for sound. This is the two-dimensional picture of sound. And so you can see how, if you were going to make a symbol for this, I mean, it's here too. You can see it here too with the dots and everything in it. There's the dot. But it's no doubt that that's where it came from. This is, again, cornstarch with a sound being pumped through it, and you can see it's almost like a flower. Exactly. And so these are the definite shapes that water takes on when a sound frequency is being pumped through it. And Dr. Emoto, even more recently, took water from the same place and put words on it, such as love and thank you and you make me sick. He put them in he froze them very fast, and then he put it in a microscope and looked under a microscope to see what they looked like. The water in the same place that all he did was wrote on a piece of paper, thank you, and then took it out and looked at a microscope. It showed a snowflake-like pattern. When you put something like you make me sick, I want to kill you, I hate you, you get something that's completely not a crystalline shape. Love and appreciation, again, Mother Teresa, even names like Adolf Hitler, the heavy metal music. So this is why when you listen to Mozart, you're going to retain more information than when you listen to heavy metal music. It's going to help you understand more. It's going to help you relax. And relaxing, again, is helping you use the other 90% of your brain that you normally don't use. So these are the snowflake-like patterns that you're going to see when you live in love, when you forgive people, because if these thoughts have a direct effect on the water, what is your body made out of? Your body is mostly made of water. So your thoughts, the way you speak to people, the way you interact with people, places you go, are going to have an effect on your water. So your body is literally a liquid crystal. And you can change the frequency anytime you want to. But what you got to put into it is what's going to matter. So these are the solfeggio frequency, 396, 417, 528. So at these threshold moments, when you place these frequencies in hertz, then the water changes to a snowflake-like pattern like this. And this is this ancient solfeggio. Why people, when they went to church back in the day, and you felt good for the music that they played, it's because these tones are in them. When you play this music, when you meditate this music, it's going to reflect that in your water, in your body, and it's going to make you feel better. So this is why you now start to see why the circle with the star is such an important thing, because it is a scale of music. So you are an instrument. Max Planck, the father of physics, said, all matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. The mind is the matrix of all matter. So a sound is literally holding everything in the universe together. It's what creates everything. And as this sound increases, of course, our bodies are going to change, the earth is going to change, the animals are going to change. And it also explains why we have certain places on the earth, the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Triangle, why these places have significant meaning to them, why people flock to them, why people feel good, and places like the Pyramid of Giza, Easter Island, they're all on this grid. And so it explains to us that the earth does have this field around it, it does have these places in it, and here again, Honolulu, why the Devil's Triangle, Bermuda Triangle, why these places are going to have a frequency higher than other places in the world, because of the sound that's being played through the universe, actually creating it. And that's why people in the past would say this is holy ground, because it had a higher vibration than other places. So you start to realize that this is also, if we're our own universe, if we're our own planet, then we also take on this shape. And it's also been called many things: the astral body, the light body, the merkabah. Merkabah means a chariot, and a chariot to take you to the other dimensions, to take you to a reality beyond what you see with your physical eyes. We all have it around us. So, now that we know that each of us have a merkabah, a light body, energy body, a rainbow body that each of us have, how do we awake in order to turn this field on? And I'm going to tell you how. And once you awake, it's hard to go back to sheep, and you're going to see why in the past people use the sheep and the shepherd so often. It's a metaphor that we are sheep, and each one of us can become the shepherd. But we've got to be able to step outside the box and see what's out there, and not just believe what we're told, but do our own research and find out. So we want to go from a world that's like this right here. A world that is in peril, a world that's taken from nature in a way that's unexplainable to the earth and it living. And we need to move to a place like this right here, where the world is beautiful and there are animals and we have a connection to nature, and nature is flowing freely, and we want to be able to do that. And how do we do that? Well, this is a good little picture right here. Find the stillness within. How are we going to do that? Opening our third eyes inside of our brains. Each one of you heard the mind's eye or the third eye. You actually have a tiny gland that looks like a pine cone in the center of your brain. And today people are calling it the pineal gland. And that's to symbolize that it's like a pine cone. And it's in the very center of your brain. Jesus said in Matthew 6:22, if your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. So is he talking about closing your eye and having one eye open. No, obviously he was talking about the single eye, the eye that's in your brain, the one that you can awaken. And we know, scientists are finding out today, that it actually glows. And that's a pretty incredible thing. Rene Descartes called the pineal gland the seat of the soul. And I would say that that's right on. Here's the pineal gland that's been calcified from fluoride in our water. And people tell you here all the time there's fluoride in your water and you think it's good for you. You hear fluoride in your toothpaste. Well, there's a difference. The fluoride in your toothpaste, you don't ingest it. You wash your mouth out with it and then you spit it out. Fluoride in water you digest, and fluoride is very toxic to the body. And this is probably the reason why. They want to take away your energy, they want to take away your connection to the other realities. And if you're not operating with a small portion of your third eye, you're not going to understand, you're not going to see when someone tells you sacred geometry or this or that. You're not going to figure it out because you don't see the bigger picture as a whole. And so we need to learn how to decalcify this gland in order to have a connection to these other realms. So this is the Vatican. And this is a huge statue. A person probably comes up to like right here. And what's significant about this picture is that's actually a green pine cone. So a green pine cone, which is an undeveloped pine cone, not an adult. You see it in the Pope's staff. It's the Sumerian gods holding the pine cone to represent that he is an enlightened being. And the Pope significantly uses it today to show that although he's not an enlightened being, he wants you to think that he's someone who has something that you don't have and you need to get it through him. But he can't give it to you, only you can give it to yourself. So again, you see people here in the background, how small they are to this. This is the staff of Osiris, and the Pope's staff again. In Greek, Dionysus, he's got a pine cone on the end of his staff. Bacchus has a pine cone on his staff, and these were gods to them, people who could do miraculous things, heal people. Sumerian god with a pine cone in his hand. Samaria again with a pine cone in his hand. So, this is Buddha. And see the little bendy on his eye? This means his eye is single and he is full of light. Another thing I want you to take into account here is this on top of his head, he has what is a bun. I would say this is the bun of enlightenment. The more and more you look at it, you're going to find enlightened beings with some kind of bun attached to the top of their head. And here it is, Shiva. Single eye, the mount on top of his head, and there's so much in here. I can only talk about a few because of time. But the kundalini serpent and all kinds of other things. Again, look at this big. Look how big this is. This is Shiva again. Kundalini serpent, the mount on top of his head. The eye is single. He's full of light. Buddha. And when you start to realize, okay, so this third eye is single. It's full of light. Not only does it glow just inside your head, when you fully awaken, you get the aura. Because your third eye is completely turned on, you're going to get an aura around your head. And this is, you see this in all kinds of artwork everywhere. This is the King Tut's mask. He has a kundalini serpent and a bird, but you see Thoth and other people, Birdman, which is a very, you even hear about it in culture today. They're taking it from the past culture that these people called the Birdmen, like Thoth, had a connection and were raised up above the normal man because they had this connection that other people didn't. So Buddha again, his bun on his head, the aura going around his head. You also have one that goes around his body and one that goes around his head. Krishna, he has a bun on his head, he has a single eye, he's full of light, he's a god, he's someone who's reached enlightenment. This is Krishna's family. Every single one of them have it on the top of their head, something. So again, eye single, full of light. Confucius was said to have a misshapen head on top of his crown, where it looked like a crown on top of his head. And it's not a coincidence that they call that top part of your head the crown. Again, this guy's transmitting the energy to everybody else because his eye is single and he's got the bone in his head. So like I said before, all of us have the same connection to source, and all of us are just as important as anybody else. Don't let anybody tell you that any politician or anybody else is better than you and has more power than you do, because that is not correct. Krishna again, the third eye, the aura around his head. So here's Jesus talking to disciples, but what you realize is not only to just him, although this is a little different. Of course, we all realize that he was higher than the rest of us, but every single one of them have this aura around their head. So they've all attained this awakening, just not the level that he has. But it's not just confined to him. Every disciple has it. And so one thing what I said before about this crown on top of your head, well, you don't see Jesus depicted with this bun or this crown on his head. But the Jewish people wear a yarmulke on top of the crown of their head to symbolize humility. Well, what would be more humiliating to know that you could grow your own crown, but you're symbolically wearing a piece of, a garment in order to symbolize the fact that someone else who's done it that you're looking up to, when you can do it yourself. And so if you look at this is a rendering of what King Tut would look like. When they dug him up, they found out he had an elongated skull. And I would say that just like this, Jesus probably had the same exact skull in the Buddhas and the Krishnas and all of them. And to whatever extent that you become enlightened, it could be bigger or smaller. And this is a bun of enlightenment, a crown. The crown that can't be, the crown of life that can't be taken away from you in the Revelations. And so why would wizards be wearing a pointy hat on top of their head? To cover up the crown, because obviously it doesn't work out too good for these people who have reached this so far. You know, you think about wizards, the witches, Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, people who have started to awaken. Life isn't always easy for you after that. And so they're probably going to have to be different. And what you know about magicians and things is they are nomadic. They live in the woods. Jesus was a nomad. He lived in the woods. They have long hair. They are not part of society or culture as we know it. They moved to a beat of a different drum, I guess you could say. So opening up this third eye is going to help you with these connection to the other dimensions, and going to make you be able to have an astral body projection. So your third eye awakening, when you dream, when you go to sleep at night, basically that's what it is. You're having an astral body projection. You're projecting that astral energy body out into another dimension, in which you're gathering up information to bring back to this life. Although a lot of times it's hard to remember. Well, just because you reincarnate over again, you realize that lost my train of thought there. So the pineal gland comes out, takes you to other dimensions, and what they found out, Rick Strassman found out, was that the pineal gland, at 49 days of gestation, from the day the sperm hits the egg, that you actually 49 days after that you actually get your gender and your pineal gland. It's significant because Tibetans believe it took 49 days to reincarnate. So why you don't remember your past lives is because it's like the dream. When you come back to this body, you forget. Just like when you reincarnate, when you come back to a new body, you're a child, you forget. So the whole part of their life is remembering to turn this back on and to realize who you are. And then it's almost like your past life starts to bleed together into this life, and you start to realize who you really are. So again, opening up your pineal gland, sleeping at night is going to take your astral body, and that's why you have these dreams a lot of times, and you meet your dead ancestors, your grandmother and grandfather who passed away, and other people, and you're gathering up information to bring it back to the now. And it's not just in your room, on the planet. Your astral body can project out anywhere into the universe, and it's connected by this little cord, and so it never can always find its way home. Here's a picture of Krishna and his astral body projection by a serpent into other dimensions. So what is it that takes us into these other dimensions? It's actually a psychedelic compound called DMT. DMT is a spirit molecule, and Dr. Rick Strassman, I told you before, he actually wrote a book about this where he gave people in a hospital setting DMT. Talks about the experiences. It also has more information about the pineal gland and anything else if you want to take a read at that. It's a great read, and it's very informative in helping you understand what exactly we're talking about when we say in DMT. We're talking about going to other dimensions, other realms, seeing outside the box. And so this is Alex Gray painting of DMT artwork, which is called the chrysanthemum. And as you pop out of your body, and you're nothing but the astral body, you actually float around in this thing for a while. And what you can see is each one of these little squares is a galaxy. So this place is infinitely huge, infinitely massive. And when you're there, I've been there, it looks exactly like that. And you're just like, wow, I've died. And you realize I've died more than once. And this is real, and that this life is actually a game, that it's actually a dream. And we're just doing it to gather up information for our light bodies. So this picture of the eyes is very symbolic to what you're going to see. I've seen it many, many times before I've gone over to the other side and had interactions with my grandmother and grandfather, who are now my spirit guides. And this is the picture on the front of Alex Gray's book, The DMT, the Spirit Molecule. And it's a great painting of what he called praying. And this is every single person. The awakening sun is going to give you the aura, and anybody can do it. This picture is entitled The Light Worker. And so, just like what I said before, when you awaken, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have problems. We all have to carry this burden of light with us. I mean, and Jesus, the way he lived his life was symbolic of the fact that we all have to do the same thing. We all have to carry this burden of light to transmit it to others, because there's so many people who are asleep right now. Everybody thinks they're awake, they're conscious, they're making decisions, but the decisions you get ketchup on your hamburger is not real freedom. And think that someone taking my guns away or whatever is freedom. The government can't grant you freedom. The only real freedom is the freedom of mind and the freedom of heart, to be able to think and believe what you want to believe and feel. And so these are the kind of beings that you're going to encounter when you get on the other side. Cosmic Christ, people who have so much understanding, it's incredible to even think about how far past they are than you. But to be honest, you are a enlightened being. You just have barriers that you have to remove in order to reclaim that enlightenment. So once we awaken our third eye, we can work on this thing, the brain, and getting a full capabilities out of it, because right now we're very limited on what we actually use of our brain. Like I said before, the 90% of your brain that you don't use is the prefrontal lobes, the higher cortex, the wrinkly stuff that you usually associate with the brain. Those things will actually make you be able to understand things smarter. So you've heard that the world is the left brain world, the analytical thought, the logic, the scientific skills, the mathematics. This is where we're at. This is the male side of your brain. The right side is the feminine side, the imagination, dimensions, the whole, creativity, art, music, holistic thought. So we're over here in the male-dominated society for a reason, because we're only using the left side of our brain. If we could turn this pineal gland on, which is going to be like our gateway to both sides, we're going to be able to use both sides of our brain and be able to have a much more in tune understanding of what's going on, and no one will be able to lie to you anymore, because you're going to know, hey, I know that's not true. You can't tell me what I don't already know. So again, remember, the left side of the brain, it's not like we don't need it. It's not like it's not as good. We need both of them. We need the logic, we need the reasoning, just as much as we need the creativity. If we were in a right brain society, we would need to be trying to turn the left brain on, just as we're in a left brain society, and we need to learn how to come to terms with how to use all of our brain. And so if I said the left of the brain is the male side, and the right brain is the female side, by understanding the wholeness of the whole deal, we remove the dualistic, and we're no longer one way or the other, but all of us have male and female qualities inside of us, and by turning the left and the right brain on, we become a more whole person. We have the masculine and the feminine in us. So we turn on our brains. And when we turn on our brains, we eliminate the mental slavery that all of us have entered into. It's just how it works. It's almost like the parable of the prodigal son, but if you apply it to your life, as when the kid goes out from the father and he goes to do whatever, that's almost like when you're 13. When you're a small child, when you're a father, when you're with the father, when you are understanding, when you take in information and knowledge, and you can learn languages at an incredible rate. And when you're 13, what happens? Your light goes out. Your pineal gland literally goes out, and you see that in people's clothes, the places they go, people they associate with. A lot of times they wear darker clothes. It's because the pineal gland's gone out, your light has gone out. And so it's not till usually about 40 years old where people start to have that balance of estrogen and testosterone, where you know, the opposite effect happens in men for women. So they balance out. You're getting that balance. So the prodigal son is a parable. It's a parable for all of us. We're all the prodigal son. We all have to come back to the Father. And we do that by eliminating mental slavery. And then we get to the part where, all right, so our brains are working. What's another big thing we got to work on is our hearts. And just as they say you use 5 to 10% of your brain, I would say you use 5 to 10% of your heart as well. And when you live in love, when you live in forgiveness, when you live in compassion for others, you're going to have a coherent wave pattern that's going to work with these two entities in your body, as opposed to when you're fear, anger, anxiety. This is not a coherent pattern. You can obviously tell this is not easy. This is frustration and not working together. So, did you know that when your heart emits electromagnetic fields, they change according to your emotions? When you're happy, your field is going to be bigger than when you're sad. And that happiness, that love, that compassion is going to keep you from getting more anger, more things that come in, because you're repelling it now. You're a magnetic field, and when you're positive, you're going to repel that negative that comes at you. So and did you know that positive emotions create psychological benefits in your body, such as, you know, negative ones do create lines in your face, or wrinkles, or your hair falling out. All these things are from negative emotions having a negative effect physically on your body, and positive ones can do the same thing. So when you live in appreciation as opposed to frustration, you're going to have a lot better understanding of life. You're going to have more spiritual capacity, more of everything, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So turn our heart fields on, turn on this energy, and turn on this love, and change. So no matter what you get in, frustration or anger or whatever it is, turn it around. You know, everybody is you, so therefore, you know, come to terms with who you are and make everybody else work with you. And whatever that somebody else is trying to put in, turn around love. And when you put love out, you're going to get love back. There's no doubt about it. So put love and grow your heart and make it strong, and stop saying woe is me, because the only person that can do it is you. The only person that can change your way of thinking and turn your heart on is you. You can't ask anybody else to do it. So open up your heart and let your love out. And so no matter what anybody else says to you, no matter what anybody else is doing on the outside, never let anybody else define you, because this is the only person you have to worry about. You know, you can't make everybody else happy, but this is the person that you have to. It's you. You have to make yourself happy. And when you make yourself happy, and when you do what's right, you're going to make the others happy around you. And when you have a change of heart, it's going to change our world. So, like I said, each one of us have a magnetic effect on the earth and on everyone else. So give the world a hug, give everyone else a hug, and know that everything's going to be okay. You know, it's all going to be fine. Everything is love, and anything else is an illusion of separation. And I love these kind of pictures like this. Just, you know, everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay. And I believe this is what, again, Jesus was saying when he said, a good tree doesn't bear bad fruit, and nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Because when you live in love, when you live in honesty, when you do these things, you're not going to be sick. You're not going to get cancer. But when you do get cancer, and you do get sick, and you do have diseases, you have to realize that what we have done to ourselves through mental and how we feel and our emotions are going to have detrimental effects on our body. So it makes a lot of sense when you say a good tree. He's obviously not talking about trees. He's talking about us. We are a tree. And I'll show you, this is probably why he meant tree, because we literally look like a tree. Because once we turn these fields on, and what's crazy is, I showed you the aura, and I showed you the one around the head and one around the body. The one around the body is bigger. That's because the heart and the brain both give out electromagnetic fields. The difference is, in these fields, the heart is 100 times electrically stronger and 5,000 times magnetically stronger. You have electromagnetic fields from your heart and your brain. Wow. And that the heart is way stronger than the brain. And if you notice, it's like a torus. This is the torus, and this is a way to make energy, and how energy manifests in the physical world. And so you see this torus, And the magnetosphere, the electromagnetic fields of the Earth. And the apple, the galaxy. And you don't even see how time is shaped in an hourglass. And so this is you. Every single one of us started out like this. This is electromagnetic field from magnets with lead iron filings. And there's no doubt when you look at these, the way this is separating, it's because of electromagnetism. So that's why when you meet people, and you know some people are good, and you know some people aren't so good, and it's okay, you can help them out, but you know, that's why you're going to feel different feelings around people, because their feelings and emotions don't just lie inside of their thinking. There's an energy that protrudes outside of them. Everybody has it. Some people are going to be more turned on than others, of course. These energy fields stem from this kundalini energy that's rising and falling in the chakra systems. And it's very coincidental that the chakra systems align with the energy centers of our body, the electrical parts of our body. So, this loving energy has a direct effect on your DNA. What scientists are finding today is we have 20 out of 64 amino acids in our DNA that are turned on. The way to turn on this other DNA is to live in love. That literally, love is a more sporadic vibrational frequency than fear. And when you live in love, you're going to turn on your DNA, and it's going to have a direct effect on the molecules that you're made of. Again, alleviating the diseases, the pains, the problems that you have, because they're there to show you what you've done wrong. They're there to show you that something that you've done in the past is not serving you. And sometimes you might could see different diseases being gifts, showing you that if you don't stop what you're doing, you're going to kill yourself. You have to stop the way of thinking, the way of living that you are. And if you can realize it, you'll find out, and you'll take a lot from it. It's a lesson, something to figure out. There's some DNA for you right there to understand that it's like a ladder. And when you make these, so if we're not connected, 20 out of 64 aren't connected, then by turning those on, we're going to, like Jacob's ladder, create that the connection to the divine. So that's definitely what Jacob's ladder came from. DNA, the caduceus, and you see this in medical, the hospital. This is where it comes from. Here at Moses and his staff, and he put the serpents on it and made his people look at it. Looking at the spiral is going to make your DNA turn on. That's why you feel better when you even look at that.
Here we go.
And here's your crop circles, Paul.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, DNA. These are crop circle with the triple DNA. And so what's significant about that is, you know, we have a double helix DNA, and a double helix is what we are in, but they're showing us that there's a triple DNA. And even more recently, with the past couple weeks, I don't have a picture of it, but we found out in cancer cells, we found a quadruple DNA, which scientists are saying now is going to help us get to the point where we can cure cancer through this DNA. So we can turn on our DNA. We can be more multifaceted than any of us can imagine. And so again, like I said, this is Jacob's ladder. When you fix the rings in the ladder, you can ascend to heaven, and that's through the astral body projections into other dimensions. That's what heaven is. It isn't something that we're all going to go to later on. It's something, the kingdom of heaven is within, as Jesus said. And there it is, Jacob's ladder. He's able to get it because he's done the inner work. It's not something we're just going to get to because we have some belief of something that's wrong or right. And this DNA is evolving us, it's changing us, and what's significant about these pictures, it looks like a stepping thing, but we all know that in between these places in evolution, there are no missing links. It always goes from this to this. Homo sapien, a Neanderthal to Homo sapien. Where's the missing link? There is no missing link, because when these energy sound reaches a certain threshold, things change fast. Metamorphosis. You see the caterpillar, you see it, and all that stuff, and the butterfly. So that's nature telling us this is how it works. Things change abruptly, and that's why we're never going to find a missing link. There isn't one, because things change fast. So, like, we have to be like the butterfly, and we're going to find out when a caterpillar calls the end of the world that Master calls a butterfly, People are saying it's the end of the world, it's the end of this. Well, it's the end of our systems, it's the end of the governments, it's the end of religions, because we don't need them anymore. We know how to do the work within. We know that we're multifaceted beings. We don't need a preacher or a priest to be that intermediary between us and God, because we can do it ourselves now. So this is spontaneous evolution. We're going to spontaneously evolve into things that are different than anything that we know of. And there's many books. Bruce Lipton talks about this exact same thing. And so it's definitely a recommend that I recommend this book and check it out. So just like the phoenix. The phoenix is rising from the ashes. And that's what we have to do as well. We're going to rise from the ashes and create a new society and a new world. And those people who believe, like the butterfly, the caterpillar is coming to the end and run around screaming, you're not beneficial to the whole. We need to find new ways and stop just being angry and complaining about what's going on now. Find a new way and invert your energy towards that, as opposed to saying this way is wrong, this way is wrong, this way is wrong. No, find a better alternative solution and promote that. So this is probably one of the greatest pictures I think I have. Evolution. Man is in the process of changing the forms of light that are not of this world. Thoth, the Atlantean. And that's what I'm talking about. The illuminated chakras, the illuminated body, until, the people who will be here will be like a Garden of Eden. Things will be amazing. I think that we're in for a huge change in the very future, but it starts with us, and each one of us is going to have to turn our own light bodies on, and by doing that, you will start to change all the other people and activating people all around you with their light body activation as well. And again, like I said, it comes from the turning on of these 7 energy centers in our body. And I'm not trying to push Christianity down anybody's throat, but that's what I'm most familiar with. But this is Hinduism, actually, and other Eastern. They know this stuff. So in the Western world, I'm trying to tell you what other people know. This is what they know to be true. This is what we are finding out through modern day science, that these energy centers do correlate to the energy spots of our body. And so you talk about the 7 lampstands that Jesus referred to. These are them. Your 7 light energy centers. You are the lampstand. And why you have not, the third eye is the one that glows in the brain. That's why you have the stand at the top, and not at the bottom. You don't put it under a bowl. No, you put it at the top. You are the 7 lampstands. You are a lampstand. And so, by only having 1 or 2 of these energy centers on, you're not accessing your full potential. When you turn on all these energy centers, you're talking about a multifaceted being that has a huge connection to everything. Another Alex Ray pictures with the aura around the head, the aura around the body, the energy center is glowing, lit up. He's in meditation. And meditation is ultimately one of the best ways to go within. You don't have to sit in a dark room with your legs crossed. Simply laying down on the couch, sitting down in a chair, being comfortable, listening to easy music, things like that. They're going to help you relax, and that relaxing is what is allowing you to use the other parts of your brain. They're going to help you light up like a Christmas tree when you start to do it. And even think about the Christmas tree, Christmas me, Christmas, Christ Mass, all kinds of Christ, all kinds of Buddhas, all kinds of Christians. Everybody is one. Everybody's a Christ. Everybody's a Buddha. You just have to awaken the inner God within you. And you turn on your merkabah. Everybody's got it. And by meditating, by relaxing, you are allowing the thoughts to come in. People think that you're your thoughts. You're not your thoughts. You're witnessing your thoughts from the light body. Your brain is doing thinking. That doesn't mean you're a part of those thoughts. But by relaxing and stop thinking your thoughts, you can think the thoughts of the universe. And by thinking the thoughts, they're going to help you realize you're not some pitiful, unloved. You are unconditionally loved. Everything you've ever done, nothing matters, because it's a lesson for you to understand who you are. So don't feel guilty for something. Don't feel angry. You are unconditionally loved no matter what you do. That's what God is. That's insane to me. So meditate, reflect, relax. It's all going to be okay. And when you do these things, and you take your time and you go in and you do the inner work, you're going to change yourself. You're going to change yourself into a way you never thought was even possible. And here, look at him. even he's spinning his energy center, which what? Looks like a galaxy. And that's what the chakra means, wheels of light, wheels of spinning light. And you see the kundalini serpent down here? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise this kundalini serpent in our bodies. And it's through your spine. And you have 33 vertebrae in your spine, which is a very symbolic number. Jesus lived for 33 years. The Freemason, the highest degree of Freemasonry is a 33-degree Mason. They're symboling the fact that this person has attained enlightenment by reaching the top of the spine and becoming a multi-dimensional God. Although today we look at gods as Kenny Chesney or the football players and the basketball players, and we literally take our energy and divert it out to them. Instead of taking this energy that you have and placing it right back into your body and having it cycle through you like a circuit, as opposed to taking your energy out and sending it to other people, whatever it is, those professional athletes, whoever, and you're giving them energy. No wonder why everybody thinks they're cool, because you have masses of people who are hypnotized by television telling you this person's cooler than you, they're better than you, they got more money than you, and that's not what matters. Material possession isn't what matters. It's the consciousness of the universe, it's the knowledge and wisdom that will make you more multifaceted than all of those people combined could ever even think of being. So raising your kundalini energy is part of it. And this is a master of pictures. I couldn't believe when I found this. But look at this. So the energy of the spine right here. And this is what I'm talking about. When you raise this kundalini serpent, when you become an enlightened being, this is the crown of someone's head. This is the crown of light that can be taken away from you. And the kundalini serpent, the master, someone who has mastered. And you think about the Knight's Tales, the defeating of the dragons. That's the inner battle within, conquering the serpent, the energy body inside of you. And when you do that, you're enlightened. Life is great. You know? Stop feeling bad about yourself, stop feeling the pity, stop feeling the love, and letting the light in. And you're going to become multifaceted. And I like this one. Look at the roots. You're rooted in the ground like a tree. And you're blossoming like a tree. And look at this, the torus around this cosmic-looking Christ being. And, you know, it's a kingdom of heaven. It's a kingdom. So there's all kinds of people in this kingdom. And you'll get to meet some when you turn this light body on. I like this. This is the male and the feminine as one. You know, no longer a dualistic one or the other side. We need to start being whole, treating everyone as they're the same. And, you know, even beyond race or anything else, the woman has been held down more than anyone. You know? I mean, it was the woman to get the last right to vote because they want to keep the women suppressed and even make you think that Mary Magdalene was a whore or a prostitute. There's no evidence to support that whatsoever. She was the person that found Jesus in the tomb. She knew secret teachings that other people didn't tell, and she taught them to the disciples. So I would say she was one with Christ as opposed to being some whore that people want you to believe. And if you believe that she was some kind of prostitute, in a way, symbolically, what you believe is what you experience. So if you believe this person who was equal was less, then your feminine, your cosmic mother inside of you is less. Your energy body of that, you know, dualism is you're going to, you know, think that this is just one. But no, you need the two to be able to, you know, help you become part of all that it is and ever will be. And in search for enlightenment, in search for a beautiful world and awakening who you really are. So, again, the male and female are one, and that's symbolic to the brain, symbolic to our society, everything. When we start to do this in ourselves, it's going to change the outside. So I'm going to leave you with this. Remember, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spirit beings having a human experience, each one of us. This is an experience. This is a, you know, your femininity or your masculinity, whatever you are, that's an experience. We've been men and women and animals and who knows what. These are experiences to learn lessons in life. So, That's it. I appreciate you guys coming out today. Thank you.
Thank you.